In this demonstration you learn how to fix the font sizes for buttons and combo boxes in the Friend Organizer application. Let's switch to Visual Studio. On the left side of my screen you can see the Friend Organizer application that I started in debug mode. On the right side Visual Studio is running. When I open up a friend you can see that the font size for the buttons is a bit too small and also the font size for this favorite language combo box. So let's adjust this. I select the Enable Selection option here and I select the Delete button. Now I select Go to Live Visual Tree Explorer and you can see the button in the Live Visual Tree Explorer. I right click on the button and I select Show Properties from the context menu. This opens up the Live Property Explorer. Here you can see local properties, properties from a button style, properties from the Mavs Metro style, properties from the default button style, and so on and so on. I just go to this button style here and I want to set a new property, and guess which one? The font size property. Let's set it to a value of 20. Okay, 20 seems to be a bit too much for our buttons in this friend detail view. Let's set it to 12. 12 is a bit too small. Let's set it to 16. Yes, 16 looks good to me. Now the changes that you make in this Live Property Explorer are not stored in your SAML documents. They are just done in memory of the running application. So when you stop the application, these changes are lost. This means the Live Property Explorer is very good to try things at runtime. But later you have to create the corresponding SAML code to do this permanently. Later we will create a style for a button with a font size of 16 in the application resources. But before we do this, let's take also a look at the favorite language combo box. So I select that combo box, and now you can see that the combo box is here in the Live Property Explorer. I also go to the style and I set the font size property here. I set it this time also to a value of 12. Let's try this. That's too small. Let's try 16. Still a bit too small. Let's try 20. Yeah, and 20 looks good to me. So I uncheck the Enable Selection option. And now you can see the font size 20 for the combo box looks quite good. So let's go with this, 20 for the combo box and 16 for the buttons. So I open up the Solution Explorer and I go to the Application Resources. Here we have the resource dictionary with our custom resources. And here directly at the top I just create a new style with a target type button. I set the based on property because I want to base that one on the Mavs Metro style for the button. And I just define a setter for the font size property. And you remember what it was? It was 16. So now we have defined the font size 16. I copy that style and I paste it again. And I do the same for the combo box. But on the combo box, I want to set the font size to a value of 20. Now you can see these styles are underlined. The tooltip says this change is not supported during a debugging session. So let's just stop the application here and let's start it again. Now I open up a friend and you can see the favorite language combo box looks good and also the buttons have a good font size. Now the next thing that we focus on are the colors of the validation errors and colors of labels and datetime pickers. Look at this red, it's by far too strong. So let's see how we can fix this. In this demonstration we will adjust the colors of different controls. We will change the colors of validation errors, of labels and of the date time picker. Let's switch to Visual Studio. On the left side of my screen I started the Friend Organizer application, on the right side I have Visual Studio running. Now let's open up a friend and let's change the email address here. I remove the @ sign so that we get an invalid email. You can see the red is by far too strong. The same is true when I type in a character into this phone number. Here the red is also too strong. Now let's change this. I select the Enable Selection option and I select the text box. Now I select Go to Live Visual Tree. And you can see we are here on the text box. I just right click and I say Show Properties. I can see here the local properties. I collapse this. Now I can see style triggers and the style text box with validation in the AppSaml file. So I click here on AppSaml and now I'm in the AppSaml file and I can see the style for target type text box that sets this error template property. Inside of this template we are using a text block, and the text block has the foreground red. This is the text block used for the error message. I changed this here to white, and now you can see the error message is white. This looks much better. Now when I scroll down a bit, you can see here the triggers. If the validation has error property is true, the background property is set to red. I changed this here to dark red. Yes, this dark red text box looks much better. Let's do the same for the errors in the data grid. As you might remember, we have here this data grid column style and data grid editing column style. So on both, we have a setter for the background property that is set to red. I just changed this to dark red in both cases. And now you can see also the phone numbers in the data grid, they have a dark red background when they are invalid. Now let's add the @ again to get a valid email address, and as soon as it is invalid, we get this dark red background and the error message in white. I think this looks quite good in our application. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to change the labels so that they are not white. And when I open up a meeting, you can also see that the date time pickers just have a black foreground. So let's change this. To do this, I have prepared already some styles. So in the application resources, where we have defined already the styles for the button and the combo box, I just paste additional styles for the label and for the date time picker. For this date time picker, I need to add the alias toolkit. But let's use a little trick in Visual Studio 2017. I just type in here the type date time picker, and now I can press Ctrl- to add the XML namespace for this control from the SAML toolkit. As you can see, the alias that was selected is XCTK. So now I just copy toolkit here, and I scroll up, and I replace XCTK with toolkit. Now the date time picker is found. Let's start the application again, and let's see what it looks like. I open up a meeting, and the date time picker looks good. It has now a white foreground. But the labels on the meeting detail view and also on the friend detail view are still white. So let's change this on the fly in our style for the label. I move this application to the left side and Visual Studio to the right. Here in the label style, I have defined this white foreground. Let's select dark gray, and now the labels are dark gray. Dark gray is a bit too dark. I choose the value 6 times C. Yes, now the labels look quite nice. So I keep it like this. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to show you that we don't use the MAAPS text box style yet. In this demonstration I show you how to use the text box style from MAAPS Metro, because up to now the Friend Organizer application is using the text box style that comes with WPF. So let's switch to the Friend Organizer application. Here I've opened the app SAML file of the Friend Organizer application. As you can see, we have defined a style here for the target type text box to set this validation error template property. So this is the style that is used in our application for the text box. Let's start the application to see this. I open up a friend, I remove the first name, and now you can see a validation error that is displayed because of this validation error template that we set in the style. Let's add the first name again. Now this text box here uses the default style that comes with WPF. You can see this because it has a blue border around it when it has the focus. Or you can also see it when you look at it in the Live Property Explorer. So I choose here the Enable Selection option and I select it, and now I click Go to Live Visual Tree. You can see I clicked on a text box view, but the parent here is a text box. So I right click on it and I say Show Properties. Now I can see here local properties and the text box style from the app SAML file. But there is no MAAPS Metro style defined here. Now let's change this. I stop the application and I set here the based on property. I use the static resource markup extension to reference a style with the type text box. An implicit style for the text box has always the key type of text box. And such an implicit style for the text box is provided by MAAPS Metro with this controls resource dictionary that we add to our application resources here. So now our own text box style with the validation error template is based on the implicit text box style that lives in this controls resource dictionary of MAAPS Metro. Let's see this in action and let's run the application. I open up a friend and you can already see that the font size is not the same anymore. When I click in a text box, you can see that the border turns white. When the mouse is over a text box, the border turns gray. Now let's use again the Enable Selection option and let's select the text box. I click on Go to Live Visual Tree. I'm here already on the text box, so I just right-click it and I say Show Properties. I collapse Local and Style, and here you can see now the Metro text box style that comes with MARAPPS Metro. So now we inherit actually from that style from the MARAPPS Metro UI toolkit. Now the only thing I want to change, I want to adjust the font size. So in our style, I define a setter for the font size property, and as you remember from the combo box style, the value 20 is a good choice. I switch to the application that is still running, and now you can see that the text boxes have the new font size and we are using the style from MARAPPS Metro. Now the design of the Friend Organizer application is done. The only thing I want to change in addition is the design of the message box. I think you agree that the design of this classic message box looks a bit old school compared to the design of our Friend Organizer application. Let me show you how you can replace it with the message dialog that comes with MARAPPS Metro.